The iPhone is not the best camera smartphone in the world. Now, I may get a lot of hate for this, but hear me out, it's my first-hand experience and I'm here to share it with you. Let's go. So, I took the iPhone 14 Pro and pitched it against the most competing flagship, the S23 Ultra, and the most competing camera system, that is the Pixel 7a. And first, let's compare what we use the most, the primary camera. Now, for the record, I'm not saying that iPhones do not take good photos. In fact, there were plenty of photos that the iPhone took which I would prefer over the S23 Ultra and the Pixel 7a to share with my friends or to upload to Instagram. But this was only sometimes. Majority of the times, the iPhones did not take the best. So naturally, I stepped out, started taking photos from all three phones, and there were a few observations. Like here, the iPhone 14 Pro, despite being set to a warm photographic style, it still took a very cold, lifeless picture. The colors on the Pixel 7a are absolutely bang on, but I really like the S23 Ultra photo here. Now in this one, for some reason, the iPhone 14 Pro overexposed the leaves a bit and even the white balance is a bit off. Again, the Pixel 7a, bang on. The S23 Ultra is a bit greener than it should be, but still doesn't look bad. Even if you speak about dynamic range, if you look at the shadow parts, they're completely dark, like pitch black on the iPhone 14 Pro, while the Pixel 7a did retain some part of the picture. I mean, seriously, comparing the HDR capability of Pixel 7a, the iPhone 14 Pro does fall back a little. Just look at this shadow part on the iPhone 14 Pro and the Pixel 7a and you'll know which one is better. But guys, one of the things that really matters to us is whether our smartphone cameras can capture the right color. And so I chose to take a shot of my shoes from Zara, and if you check their website, the orange color that the iPhone 14 Pro took is not right. It's actually the Pixel 7a that was bang on. Even here, the red color in the Pixel 7a is so natural and close to perfect. The iPhone 14 Pro kind of blasted the red to almost like a neon red. Also, if you zoom in a little on the wall, you'll see that the iPhone 14 Pro tends to add a bit of magenta tone. Even here, look at the wooden ceiling. You'll see that magenta tone kind of come in. It's not a bad photo, it's just not accurate. But then what about details and clarity? The iPhone 14 Pro and the S23 Ultra have massive sensors, so they must capture a lot of information and details, right? Well, not really. So this photo seems pretty normal, but when you zoom in, not only is the text on the Pixel 7a very good, you look at the crimson color of the rust, it is so distinct on the Pixel 7a, and even the leaves behind are so much clearer than the iPhone 14 Pro. And another very minor thing I noticed, the iPhone 14 Pro tends to over-sharpen the leaves. So you see this whitening on the leaves? Yeah, that's over-sharpening. The Pixel 7a, very pleasant. And you know, although rare, but there were still other kind of situations where the iPhone 14 Pro could not keep up with the Pixel 7a. For example, this one was a specifically very tricky subject. There's like the ice cream, the spoon, there's a cup with some text on it, and you can clearly see that the Pixel 7a sort of really blended everything together so well, and even the white balance is bang on. The iPhone 14 Pro kind of messed up. But wait, we also take a lot of shots of people, like humans, and so how does the iPhone act then? And honestly, I found the skin tones on the Pixel 7a and the S23 Ultra to be a lot more pleasing and natural than on the iPhone 14 Pro. Here, the details on the Pixel 7a are so good. The iPhone 14 Pro is actually a close second. The S23 Ultra, quite crappy. But then here again, you'll see that magenta tone sort of hitting my face and ruining the picture overall on the iPhone 14 Pro.
I don't know if you could tell, but I'm actually sweating a lot right now. It feels like 44 degrees Celsius here in Delhi. I've finished 2 packs of wet wipes, so please, if you're enjoying watching this video, definitely hit that like button and please subscribe. This takes a lot of effort.
Now look guys, the Pixel 7a is $500, right? And the iPhone 14 Pro is $1,000. But even then, the Pixel 7a, in majority of the shots, does better. But you know what? Let's get deeper. And before I proceed, I do want to tell you that all phones shot photos in their default mode. No color correction, no filters were applied. Their lenses were cleaned at all times. Trust me. And the photographic style that I used for the iPhone 14 Pro was warm, because personally I found that to reproduce most color accurate, lifelike and natural photos. Okay, moving on, let's talk about portrait photos on the iPhone.
See, A, it's really hot. And B, you have to keep waiting for people to like clear so you can go ahead and take your shots.
Anyway, I did get some portrait shots, and while a lot of the times there wasn't much difference, but if you look at this one, the iPhone 14 Pro just messed it up completely. The S23 Ultra smashed both the phones in this case. And here, the Pixel 7a completely crushed the other two phones. Like if you zoom in, you'll see that the edge detection on the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro is so poor compared to that on the Pixel 7a. And lastly, over here, nothing wrong with the edge detection, but the overall picture is just so much more appealing on the Pixel 7a and even the S23 Ultra, but on the iPhone 14 Pro, kind of dull. Alright, so far things are looking pretty dark for the iPhone. But do things get brighter for the iPhone in low light situations? Let's find out. In low light, iPhone is actually quite good. If you see, details here are very sharp on it as compared to both the others, and even in this, although Pixel is better, the iPhone does a decent job too. But if you talk about HDR capability, the Pixel is a tad bit better. Look at the wall inside Starbucks. It's so well balanced on the Pixel. The iPhone's good, but just not Pixel good. And check out this one. Again, the details inside the shop here on the Pixel, so much better than the iPhone. And let's not even look at the S23 Ultra. But then in very dark, dim conditions, the iPhone photos just become very soft. I mean, there's still a lot of aggressive sharpening of the trees, but look at the grass here, and then look at the Pixel, and you'll see the lack of detail in the iPhone photo. And then in this one, I mean, it's not even a competition anymore. The Pixel photo is leagues ahead of the iPhone, which again adds its magenta tone. And look at the grass here, lacks so much detail. Now see, it does take good photos in low light, but in a lot of the situations, it does not. And so this blanket statement that the iPhones take the best photos, well, it depends on the situation. And in so many situations, it wasn't doing better than the Pixel sometimes or than the S23 Ultra sometimes. What about selfies? Talking about regular selfies on the iPhone 14 Pro, they're actually quite good and better than the other two, even though it does have a bit of that magenta tone.
I think Samsung kind of takes better selfie. At least on the display it does.
However, when it comes to portrait photos, the Galaxy S23 Ultra takes the win here. It's processed for sure, but if I had to share, I would go with the S23 Ultra selfie in a heartbeat. Even in low light, again, the S23 Ultra beats the iPhone. The skin tone is better, the sky has less noise, and even if you look at the detailing of the hair on the top, it's so much better on the S23 Ultra. So for selfies, I'd say the iPhone 14 Pro is actually pretty good, but for portrait selfies and low light selfies, the iPhone 14 Pro is not a match against the S23 Ultra. Now, so far, it's not looking great for the iPhone. Actually, it's looking pretty bad, especially if you compare it to the Pixel 7a, which is half the price of the iPhone 14 Pro in the US and 1/3 the price of the iPhone 14 Pro here in India. But wait, there is saving grace for the iPhone. The video capability on the iPhone 14 Pro is amazing. In regular daylight, the iPhone videos are easily the best. They're the most natural, the highest quality, and they're extremely stable. The focusing is super sharp, and it is for this reason most casual creators want to use iPhones to create content as well. The S23 Ultra too really takes good videos, but often it's not as good as the iPhone. The Pixel in the video department is obviously not close to what we get on the other two phones. The same holds true for selfie video as well. Both the S23 Ultra and the iPhone are super, however the Pixel footage is soft and it's just not as sharp. But seriously, the iPhone, it maintains good skin tone and the consistency is just so good. However, in low light, the iPhone takes a backseat again. The S23 Ultra footage is quite better. It's got better colors and it's brighter. So yeah, even if iPhones are great for daytime videos, they're not so for low light videos. Look guys, this video is not about proving that the iPhone cameras are bad. It's just to say that unlike popular belief, they're not the best. And quite frankly, there is no such thing as the best camera smartphone. Like if I had to make the best camera smartphone, I'll take Pixel 7a's HDR and color accuracy. I'll take iPhone's daytime video capability and S23 Ultra's low light videos and selfie photos. Put them together and that would be the best camera smartphone. Also, if you see, I've not taken into account various modes that exist on the phone. For example, the 200 megapixel mode on the S23 Ultra, or the 48 megapixel Pro RAW mode on the iPhone 14 Pro, or the cinematic mode, or the action cam or steady mode. None of that. I mean, sure, there is a use case for it and you're probably one of the few people that use it. But for this video and just for the sake of keeping it simple, I've kept that outside of the perspective because majority of the people would just take out their phone, point, and shoot, right? And for that, I'm actually pretty amazed how good the Pixel 7a really is. And that's why I'm actually very excited about the Pixel 8 series. Anyway, that's it guys about this video. Now, I'm sure you guys would have comments, thoughts, stuff to say. So I'll see you guys in the comment section. And if you guys found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel guys, and hit that bell notification icon and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.
If you ever choose to become a tech YouTuber, do not do any kind of camera comparison in summers. It's the worst torture you could put yourself into.